who is adjunct lecturer at Ashesi University. Doc, thank you very much for speaking to us, and good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing, and I hope you're well.
By His grace.
And I guess you've seen both statements, the one from the Nayiri and the one from the presidency, and listened to the Asantehene. First of all, does the Nayiri have a case?
Well, I think this situation prevents moment of sober reflection. It's a very sad situation because it's like we're talking of two opposing statements. And for those of us who are a bit close to the area, I grew up in Bolga. When I was young, Bawku was a place that I used to go for holidays. Because my elder sister was actually married in Bawku. So it's a place I know very well. For Bawku to degenerate to this extent is a bit painful, and some of us speak with pain and emotions. It's not an easy task, I must say. And maybe we should rather first start by commending Otunfo for doing a very good and diligent work, because it has been a very huge task. Mediation is not an easy task. It is important to state that it requires building trust, listening to opposing views or even divergent views, accommodate scheduling and rescheduling. So it's actually not an easy task for a chief of that structure to undertake. And then if upon the completion of the task we seem to have rejection from one side, it is very painful, and I would just urge all and sundry to be very measured in our public commentaries, particularly those who are directly involved. Like the Otunfo himself said, it's not a moment of a loser or a winner. The reality of the matter is that we are confronted with a situation such that we have to agree and accept what the realities are in order for peace to prevail. Certainly, the statement from the Nayiri is not heartwarming. It's not good for what we are looking for. And we can only plead that there should be sober reflections and accept whatever the chief mediator has put forward. And I think that appears to be the only way forward. Because in reality, considering our current political arrangement, it is just befitting and proper that the chief of the Kusasi is recognized as the chief of Bawku. And as the Otunfo said, if possible, Nayiri can reassign the other chief who was even skinned or installed sometime in 2023. So it's quite a difficult situation, and we can only caution and ask for very measured public utterances. And then for those who are also directly involved, to please look at the realities and accept whatever the mediator has put forward so that peace and security can prevail in Bawku. To the extent that government is even offering a 1 billion Ghana cedis reconstruction of Bawku, that tells you a lot. And like I said, those of us who know the area, we know what Bawku has lost since the emergence of this civil unrest. That has been resulted into Zabila being overpacked, Bolga overpacked. I can tell you before then, Bawku was even almost more populated than the regional capital, Bolga. But because of these disturbances, Bawku has now become a ghost town. So we just want to urge the stakeholders to look at these realities and give peace a chance. That is the only way we can make progress. We have our military men and police patrolling Bawku day and night, or even including the surrounding areas. All this is a cost to the nation. It is at the expense of better schools, at the expense of better roads, jobs, etc. As the president also said, Not public servants are not even willing to accept posts in Bawku. It simply just tells a very sad story that we cannot continue this way. The situation cannot be allowed to persist. As a result, we can only appeal, particularly to Nayiri, to just allow peace to prevail and accept whatever the mediator has brought out. But it appears even legally that is the only way out. Of course, if they want to test the law, they can go for it. But under the circumstance, I think that we just have to accept the arrangement that we have just the Kusasi chief as the paramount chief of Bawku, and that should end the story.
In fact, if you read his statement, he consistently speaks about his commitment to peace. And he's talked about further engaging the Asantehene and then the government.
Yeah.
That should be good news because of what you're saying.
Well, it's supposed to be good news, but when I read it, I didn't like the tone. At the point, they were even dismissive of the authority of the mediator. So the tone of the letter or the press release from there was not good enough, in my opinion. I believe that maybe if they had even just issued a statement that, we have seen the reports of the mediator, we disagree with some content, and that we will engage further, maybe that would have been a better tone. But if you look within the release, some of the paragraphs were not good at all, and some were dismissive of the authority of the mediator, and I don't think it was set in good tone. And like I said, mediation is not an easy exercise. So for a whole Otumfuo to spend his time and energy to go into historical records, speak to all kinds of people. I mean, if you look at the report that was given, it is quite comprehensive. There was very wide consultation. There were cultural, narratives, legal reports, and so on and so forth. So that tells you that so much work has been done, and that should be sufficient to even calm nerves. So if there are any concerns, we can still use the same mediatory process and say, look, we've seen the outcome, but we disagree with some portions of the report. However, we will do further engagement. Maybe that kind of tone would have been better. But in one way, it appears there's even complete rejection. And as a result, it's not good enough. On the ground, like yesterday, for example, around Walwala, there was some attack of a vehicle. These are the consequences of such releases. So all we can say, we are just appealing to all and sundry enough of this suffering by the ordinary people. Let the ordinary people have peace in order that they can go about their normal life. We cannot fight forever and ever. There has to be an end to conflict, and it can only be done through negotiation. And as the Otumfuo said, again, we should guard against public utterances that might inflame tensions. So I think that we should all take a clue from that, and that all should actually yield to negotiations by way of dialogue. And to the extent that we have a central point that is mediating and can be a source of expression of concern, let's use that opportunity.
But for those of us who are observers, we are Ghanaians, just like the man in Nalerugu, the man in Bawku.
Gambaga,
the interest,
Zebula,
yes,
yes,
their interest is our interest.
indeed.
For those of us who are watching and have read that statement, and are worried about what the implications it will have, what do the parties need to do to assure us that the road to conflict is not what we'll get, rather reconciliation?
Yeah. Well, for now, I think I would rather even start with the government, to the extent that government has the primary role of peace and security in the country. Considering what has come out from the Nayiri, government should have some backdoor diplomatic engagements. Of course, there will still be the need to go back to the mediator, but we know the status of Otumfuo as far as our traditional setup is concerned in Ghana. He's quite a huge figure. So I would rather ask that maybe government should just take the initiative and start some background diplomatic talks in order to see what are still the lingering concerns of the Nayiri. I think that is where we should start from, to the extent that they have issued a statement a bit disagreeing or even completely disagreeing with whatever the Otumfuo mediation efforts has yielded. So maybe once that is done and they're able to reach out to the leaders in at Nayiri, it will be possible to calm down nerves, and that we can see how the reconciliation can start. Indeed, the president indicated that what Otumfuo did was just to mediate. The next stage is to start a reconciliation process. But it is unfortunate that we had this statement coming out for the Nayiri. So we can only hope that the government will take us a clue from that, and that it means that there's still much work to be done. But I think quickly, Nayiri should be spoken to, and then we'll see what can be done in order to calm down nerves in the local communities.
Well, that's interesting. So, but for you, what about the mediator? Do we say his role has ended?
No, I don't think so. No, to the extent that there are lingering concerns about the outcome of his mediation, definitely his role is not ended. Well, of course, the Nigerians that disagree with him did indicate they will engage. But like I said, I quite disagree with the tone of their press release. I wish it was couched in a much more reconciliatory manner. That look, we disagree with portions of your report. However, we are going to reach out. That would have been better. That would have better served and even calmness. But complete or utter rejection and the manner in which it was said or written, it was not good as far as I'm concerned for the public view. So, like I said, the Minister of Interior, the whole security architecture of the country must just, rise up to the occasion, quickly make some moves in the background, talk to those who matter, and see what else can be done. I even believe that some of these concerns can be expressed in the private, so that we don't have actors writing in that public manner, where it is open to all kinds of interpretation, depending on the side that the individual is looking at. So I think that actors themselves, like Otumfuo said, must guard against public utterances that will cause further division. So I will say that for the situation we have now, government should just take the lead, reach out, and see how, some efforts can be made to calm down tension. Whatever lingering concerns they have, let's see if it can be addressed on the quiet. But I think that Otumfuo did a very good job. I don't know what else he could have done beyond what he submitted. And we just have to commend him. And I hope that effort will not be thrown in the dustbin. We must acknowledge that effort, and we must credit. I'll give credit where it is due. Yes, if there are concerns, those concerns can be taken, I believe, at a diplomatic level in quiet circles, rather than coming out with public utterances that will not seem to respect whatever has been done.
Government was definitive in its statement about the next steps they would take subsequent to the submission of the mediation report. With the Nayiri having taken the position, should government go ahead, or should they hold on and try to address those concerns before moving on?
No, I think government can still go ahead. But reconciliation has so many facets. Okay? There's aspect of reconstruction. There's bridging social gaps. There are aspects of building trust. So many aspects as far as reconciliation is concerned. Yes. So it should be possible to identify all the areas or the programs that the government has under reconciliation, so that those that are possible to be carried out can be done. And that should be done with the consent of all parties. But I can tell you, Bawku is actually a ghost town. Even the market is not functional. Shops are not open. Supplies of goods and services very limited. So yes, reconciliation, so many things to do. It will just be a question of identifying which ones are feasible under the circumstance we have ourselves, and that should be communicated to both parties. because some of these actions can also be interpreted or misinterpreted in one way or another. So in taking or going forward for the reconciliative investment or undertakings, it will be important to identify which ones can be done under the circumstance, even while some talks still go on. Because at the end of the day, this conflict must end one day. It cannot continue endless. It has to end, and that's the reality that the stakeholders, particularly at Nayiri, will have to accept. And like the Otunfu said, looking at our current legal and political arrangement, it is only possible and feasible that the Kusasi chief is made or recognized as the chief of Bawku. Some way, if there's a way to reassign the other chief who was in skin 2 years ago, Nayiri can consider that. But it appears the idea of saying that they will not relinquish their traditional footprints in Bawku is a bit problematic. And I think that should be looked at again, and we can only plead with them that they should accept the reality that we find ourselves now, and that the legal framework and the political administrative frameworks that we have may not accept any arrangement where, the Mampusi will have a rival chief in Bawku. It is difficult to say, but that appears to be the reality we are confronted with. We can only pray that people should give peace a chance and look at the bigger picture. But else, we just continue to let the ordinary man suffer, which is not good for our development. Remember, we have across the border. All these are things that we need to consider, because if we do not, other things well in Ghana, ensure that we secure our borders, protect ourselves, the likelihood of insurgents across the border is something that is staring in our face. And so we cannot allow this to continue forever and ever. So we just have to put our acts together, ensure that we have a secured border and a very peaceful environment, so that in case of any external or foreign threat, we can easily withstand it or overcome.
Doc, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
That's Alaji Dr. AMINU Shittu, who is a retired peacekeeping officer. And of course, he has had a strong involvement in areas where there are matters of election to be dealt with, and has been into very many conflict-prone areas during his career with the UN. Taking us to 40 minutes past 8 here in the studios of Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Just a few things, two things to do. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll speak to somebody who understands mediation far, far better than perhaps Senna does.